Hello and welcome back to Essen 2017. I'm here with famed designer Eric Lang.
Hey,
how are you doing?
What's going on?
I have a feeling I have bunny ears right now, which he's famous for.
I'm a very serious professional.
I know that. As we can see, you see he has a new pin. Eric now has a new title, Director of Game Design.
That's right.
For Quimini or Not.
Yep, for CMON. And in fact, it's so serious I might get a hat.
So tell me a little bit about this position, how you kind of segued into kind of a managerial position now.
Well, I mean, I've been working with CMON practically exclusively for like the last 5 years, and CMON's done most of my big games, and I've gotten to know the team, I've gotten to know the management, and we just gelled so much that this almost feels like just a formalization of it. Personally, from a personal level, I've wanted to have, I got to a point where I want to have a little bit more influence over like an entire catalog of games, and have a vision for games that are my own, but not necessarily my own, that just, that create a cool creative vision for game design, and I'm going to say something as pretentious as excellence and stuff, but like, I want people to look at like a CMON game and go, that's going to be cool. I know this is going to be for me, and have an expectation of it, right? So, as a director, I get to be a little bit more involved in all facets of the design. I interact with development more. I interact with production more, and it's exciting.
So, what kind of challenges have there been versus just designing your own game and now working with other designers much more than the collaborations you did in the past?
Challenges. Well, I mean, it's more work than I thought, which is fine with me. I love it. I love the work, but I mean, everything takes more bandwidth than you expect, right? Everything. So I'm a little more deeply involved in the games in our catalog than I thought I would be. But I love it, right? So I work a few more hours a day than I thought I would, which is fine. I report out of Singapore, so and I work with the Brazil team, and I work a lot with the Montreal team. So like the time difference is a little, like, it gets a little weird. So I do my calls in the morning instead of or in the evening, and then during the day I do my game design, my admin stuff. So it's a lot of work, but I mean, this is what I signed up for, right? It makes me feel fresh and energized and challenged again.
So how much time do you get to do on your own game design now? Have you pulled back, or are you still doing a lot?
I mean, I'm doing a lot just on fewer games. So I'm basically doing the same amount of work just across fewer titles. And because I'm getting deeper into the back end of every game, which is what I wanted, it gives me a little less time to like work on so many projects. And because I'm involved in all the projects in our catalog, I feel like I'm kind of working on the same amount of stuff that I was before, just in a slightly different capacity, and working with the team in, like, as you said, a managerial position, which I love, because I mean, I love the team that I work with, and I love that we're kind of growing together as a development unit.
So, speaking of your games, you have a lot of games that were just kickstarted that did very well. Rising Sun, we got to play it. That's been a baby of yours for a while now, hasn't it?
Yep, for like 2 years.
And what can you say about it for those who haven't played it yet, and what they could expect from the game?
It's good. It has great miniatures. If you liked Blood Rage for the production quality, you're going to like Rising Sun for the same production quality in the art. The gameplay is vaguely along the same lines as it's a mythological fantasy game, but it's a game that should and hopefully earn its place separately on a shelf. So it's a more gentleman's diplomatic war game with more negotiation and nuanced player interactions. And it's like where Blood Rage was more like visceral, in your face, and immediate. This game is a little bit more. It's less pacey, it's a little bit more iterative and a little bit more contemplative, and there are more mind games in Rising Sun than there are in Blood Rage. And basically, Blood Rage, I want to put you in the head of a Viking clan leader. In this game, in Rising Sun, I want to put you in the head of a daimyo. What does it feel like to run a clan through Japan?
Well, I think you did a great job with that one. I mean, after playing it, it really does feel like you're running a clan.
Oh, thank you.
And you have another one that was just kickstarted or just finished its Kickstarter based on a Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire. This is a miniatures game. Can you, like a tabletop kind of miniatures game, can you tell us more about this and what you put into it?
Sure, it's good. This is the miniature game that you would expect from the modern incarnation of Cool and Mini or Not, right? So it's really streamlined, it's really accessible. I want to make sure that the rules in all of the basic rules, like the standard miniature rules of movement and combat and flanking stuff, would fit on a card like this big, all of it, like including the reminder text. But the game built around that really streamlined engine is a little bit more board game sensibility, that like there is a political aspect to the game where you could have non-combat characters playing political in the background and influencing the battlefield, having tactics cards that make you a little bit more reactive and actually add a little bit more hidden information into the game that wasn't there, that may not be as much in other miniature games. The game modes that we have, there's 5 different ways of playing, which are all named after one of the books in the series. They're highly replayable in the sort of the board game way that we know, but still, I mean, it's still focused on being a miniature game. It's still pushing epic armies around and doing epic battles, but each one gives you a slightly different context, right? It's not, the game's not about killing your opponent, it's about accruing victory points through either points of political interest, like in Game of Thrones, or like in holding down a castle, or sieging in case of Clash of Kings. And spoiler alert, there's more. Anyway, it's a huge amount of variety, and we are like in for a penny, in for a pound. Like we are deep into this game. My co-designer, Michael Chanel, worked on a huge amount of content for the game. I mean, it's Song of Ice and Fire. We released Stark and Lannister in the Kickstarter, and to nobody's surprise, there's going to be more stuff coming down the pipe, but all that's coming out at retail.
No, which is great. I mean, and so for this one, it's something that everyone will be able to get everything for the game at some point?
Absolutely, yep.
Which is great. Now, I know the question a lot of people have asked is, are you basing this on the movie series or the book series? What version of Ice and Fire have you used?
So it is a Song of Ice and Fire, right? Not Game of Thrones. So it is a literary license.
And was it cool? I mean, obviously the movie has gone on past the books, but was it cool to use everything from the books in this?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, I've worked on Game of Thrones titles in the past, right? So I'm deeply familiar with the source material. My co-designer, Michael Chanel, is an encyclopedia of the material, and we both loved the books. We were both fans of the books before working on the game. So it's just cool. It's cool to bring this new perspective on Ice and Fire to life. And it was a cool challenge to be like what does infantry combat look like in this game, where you might think like well, it's maybe not as sexy as like a big time fantasy game with dragons and trolls and stuff like that, but it feels like Game of Thrones. There's a little bit more subtlety, a little bit more skullduggery and political action going on. So I think it really feels like, to me, that it earns its place in the miniature game space.
Speaking of miniatures games, you have another game that you've been doing lots and lots of expansions for over the years, Arcadia Quest, and you have another thing coming out for that, Riders, which adds a whole new aspect to the game, huh?
That's right. Yep. I mean, that's an expansion I don't really want to talk about, because the way I pitch the game is I show the mount and I show the figure that goes in it, and that tells you everything you need to know about it, right? Without a visual, it's like I'm just talking about it, but it's really exciting. It was the brainchild. Actually, this one was the brainchild of Guilherme Goulart, who was on our team. There's the 4 designers of the game, right? But he really wanted to do mounts, even more than I wanted to do pets. And he's like, So he led this one, and I'm so proud of it. I think it looks awesome.
Yeah, I mean, just the idea of having them riding on other creatures is really cool.
Right, and there's some real twists in the gameplay. Like, we're doing stuff you expect, but there's some cool stuff that you may not expect.
And of course, the question I'm going to ask you that I always am asking, even when we're in private, is you've done Blood Rage, you've done Rising Sun. Are we going to see another epic game come out in the same kind of vein? Another one of your big epic games going all the way back to obviously Chaos in the Old World?
Yes.
Can you elaborate for me?
No.
I didn't think so. Anyway, it's a pleasure as always to have you, Eric, and thanks for being on today.
Thanks, Jason.
And Eric Lang, live from Essen Spiel 2017, and we'll be back with more from the Dice Tower soon.